Okay, today's lesson we're going to learn about absolute values. Okay, absolute value is represented by bars around it. So, like this would be an absolute value with bars on the outside of it. Okay, so when I ask you what the absolute value of 3 is, it's like thinking about distance. No matter if you drive 3 kilometers north or 3 kilometers south, you just drive 3 kilometers. Okay, so if you compare it to physics, it's like taking the distance without the direction. Okay, so the magnitude without the direction. Okay, so the absolute value of 3 is just 3. If you take the absolute value of -3, that is also just 3. So in other words, like 3 kilometers north is just 3 kilometers. 3 kilometers south is just 3 kilometers. Okay, what about if I do this? The absolute value of 2 subtract 7. Okay, well first of all you have to say, what do I have inside here? That's a -5. What's the absolute value of -5? 5. Okay, so absolute of 10 subtract 2. So what do I have inside? 10 subtract 2 is 8. What's the absolute value of 8? 8. Okay, what if I do something like this? Okay, so first of all, order of operations, you have to treat this like brackets. So I have to do it first. So what's the so I'm going to cover this up. What's the absolute value of -15? 15. Then I times it by a negative outside of that, so then it would become -15. Okay, so that's the one that can be kind of tricky because that negative is on the outside. So it's multiplied after you calculate the absolute value. Okay, now let's do some equation solving. What if I do the absolute value of x equals 4? Okay, so think about what could be in here. Does it make sense that you could have the absolute value of 4 to equal 4? What else could work in there? The absolute value of -4 would also be a 4. Okay, so in other words, we're going to split this into 2 cases where you have the positive of the inside and the negative. So what if we do this? Okay, so I know inside here, right, I'm either going to have a 10 or a -10 to give me a distance of 10. So this inside piece has to either equal 10 or that inside piece could be -10. Okay, so once you have that set up, then you can solve. So I could divide by 2, so x could be 5, or x could be -5. Okay, next question. The absolute value of x subtract 2 equals 5. Okay, so I know I want this inside to either be 5 or -5. So the inside piece is either equal to 5 or -5. Okay, the biggest thing is the setup. Now it's just algebraic steps. Add 2, so that's 7. Add 2, so that's -3. And those are my answers. Plug it in. -3 subtract 2 is -5. The absolute value of -5 is 5. Okay, x plus 5 equals 11. Okay, so same thing. This inside chunk, I want it to be 11 or -11. So x plus 5 is 11, or x plus 5 is -11. Subtract 5. So solution 1 is x equals 6.
This marks the end of the second presentation. The third
Or
presentation
negative
clock will
16.
start at 10:40. There will be no bells for the next changeover for regular attendance.
Okay, next, absolute value of 3x plus 2 minus 5 equals 3. Okay, this is different. We don't have the absolute alone. So we want to get rid of this. So we're going to add 5. So 3x plus 2 equals 8. Okay, and now we do our split. So this inside piece could either equal 8 or that inside piece could equal negative 8. Okay, if you split and do a 3 or a negative 3 off the hop, that's an error. Okay, you have to isolate root first. Or not, sorry, not the root. First, I do the absolute value alone and then split. Okay, so subtract 2, 3x equals 6, divide by 3, x equals 2. Subtract 2, 3x equals negative 10, divide by 3, x equals negative 10 thirds. Okay, two more here. Absolute value of x plus 5 equals 2. I'm going to subtract 5. Okay, and I get absolute value of x to equal negative 3. Okay, now let's think about this. The absolute value of 3 is 3. The absolute value of negative 3 is also 3. So there is never anything that you can absolute to give you a negative 3. So there is no solution. So an absolute of something can never be a negative number. That cannot exist. Okay, absolute of 8x minus 7 minus 20 equals negative 2. So we need to isolate. So add 20. 18. And now I can say this inside piece is going to either equal 18 or negative 18. That's your split. Now it's just your algebra. Add 7, divide by 8, add 7, divide by 8. And that's your solution.